Hello everyone, welcome back to Xylem, welcome back to the world of English. My name is Nasir Faruddin, Faculty of English, and I will be helping you cover the entire syllabus for your upcoming English examination. Actually, I have prepared or I have uploaded videos based on all the pros in your core textbook. You can check that in the video section and consider subscribing the channel for the upcoming videos as well. And in this particular video, we'll be discussing one of the most important poems that we have to study, which is A Roadside Stand. A Roadside Stand is a beautiful, thought-provoking poem written by Robert Frost, right? So let's learn about Robert Frost, the author, the poet first. Robert Frost, born in 1874 and passed away in 1963, was a famous American poet of the 20th century literature. Right? So he was an American poet. He wrote about people, characters, and nature. So these were the major topics in his poetry. His poems deals with human sufferings. What are the themes in his poems? Okay, his poems deals with human sufferings, fears, and the difficulties of life. You might have read at least one poem by Robert Frost. Okay, for example, you might be very familiar with this line: "Miles to go before I sleep. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep." It is actually taken from one of Robert Frost's poems titled "Stopping by the Woods on a Snowy Evening." And some of his well-known poems are "Stopping by the Woods on a Snowy Evening," "Birches," and "Mending Wall." Mending Wall is actually there in class 12 textbook in Kerala state syllabus. In the poem A Roadside Stand, Frost shows the lives of poor people very clearly. So this is the core idea of the poem, A Roadside Stand. What do you mean by a roadside stand? A roadside stand means a shed. Okay, a temporary shed that works as a a shop to sell things for customers, for people. So it's a roadside stand. And through this poem, the poet is portraying the lives of poor people very clearly. He writes about them with deep sympathy and humanity. Throughout the poem, we can see the poet is showing utmost sympathy towards that, poor people, and he's showing humanity towards them. He's not disrespecting them, or he's not just analyzing the situation, rather, he's empathizing with the situation throughout the poem. It's actually a long poem. Out of the 5 poems we need to study, this is the largest. Okay, and we'll begin with the first section. The little old house was out with a little new shed. In front, at the edge of the road, where the traffic sped. Okay? A roadside stand that too pathetically pled, it would not be fair to say for a doll or for a of bread, but for some of the money, the cash, whose flow supports the flower of cities from sinking and withering faint. So whenever you're reading a poem, especially a poem like this, it is very important, very crucial to understand the glossary in detail. Let's analyze the glossary. So what do you mean by a roadside stand? It is actually the title of the poem. So what does a roadside stand mean? A roadside stand is a small shop beside the road. A small shop, a small shed beside the road, near the road. Okay? And what does traffic sped mean? Traffic sped. Sped is actually the past tense of the verb speed. Okay, so traffic sped means vehicles moved very fast. And what does pathetically pled or pathetically pled mean? Pathetically pled mean begged sadly without words. Begged pathetically, begged sadly without words. And we have doll. What does doll mean? Do not take the literal meaning of the doll. Doll here means charity or free help. And flow supports. What do you mean by flow supports? Movement of money that helps people alive. So flow support means move the flow of money, the movement of money. Flower of cities. Flower of cities. Rich and successful city people. right? So flower of cities means rich and successful people in city life. And what does sinking mean? Sinking means falling into trouble or poverty. And withering faint mean slowly losing strength or comfort. So you can use this glossary while reading the lines. And here is how we are going to explain these lines. The poet describes a small old house with a newly built shed placed at the edge of a busy road where vehicles pass quickly. This shed is a roadside stand run by poor villagers. Who is running this roadside stand is not specifically mentioned, but we can understand that it is run by poor villagers. It looks sad and helpless. It looks sad and helpless, as if it is silently asking the passing travelers to stop. Right? So these are the observation of the poet. And however, the villagers are not begging for charity or free food. Charity, doll, right? Represented by the word doll. And they only wish to earn a little money honestly because they need to survive in life. They want a small share of money that mostly goes to rich city people. The movement, the flow of money is mostly towards the rich city people. They are not getting any share of it. And whose lives are supported by this flow of wealth. Through this description, Robert Frost highlights the poverty of rural people and the unfair way in which money is concentrated only in cities while villages are ignored, villages are marginalized, villages were not taken care of by the authority. Okay? And here we go. The polished traffic passed with a mind ahead, or if ever aside a moment then out of sorts at having the landscape marred with the artless paint of signs that with N turned wrong and S turned wrong, offered for sale wild berries in wooden carts, or crook-necked golden squash with silver warts, or beauty rest in beautiful mountain scene. You have the money, but if you want to be mean, why keep your money this crossly and go along? Let's analyze the glossary. This is very crucial to understand the glossary in this particular part. Listen, what does polished traffic mean? Polished traffic mean well-dressed, wealthy people in vehicles. Polished traffic means people who are well-dressed, who are wealthy, and a mind ahead. What does a mind ahead mean? Thinking only about themselves or their own plans. They are not considerate about the poor people. They are not considerate about the people who do not have money, who do not have basic necessities. And out of sorts means irritated or annoyed. Out of sorts, irritated or annoyed. Landscape marred means the natural beauty spoiled. Marred means spoiled or ruined. Artless pain. Artless pain mean simple, poorly done painting. Artless. There is no art in it. Okay, it is poorly made. And N turned wrong and S turned wrong. It's an interesting phrase. What does that mean? Spelling mistakes in the signs north and south written wrongly. Wild berries in wooden carts means simply berries sold in small wooden containers. And crook-necked golden squash with silver warts means odd-shaped, okay? Odd-shaped, strange-shaped vegetables with bumps. And beauty rest means peaceful relaxation or rest. And crossly means angrily or with irritation. And how can we elaborate the lines? Here we go. The poet describes the rich, well-dressed people passing by the roadside stand in their vehicles, thinking only about their own lives. As I have already mentioned, the rich people, they are not thinking about the poor people. They are not considerate about the poor people. They are only concentrating on their own life. Even if they looked at the stand for a moment, okay, while passing in the vehicles, even if they noticed the poor people or the roadside stand for a moment, they often felt annoyed, they felt irritated. They disliked the simple, poorly painted signs that spoiled the natural beauty of the landscape. The signs, sometimes with spelling mistakes, advertised things like wild berries in wooden containers, oddly shaped golden squash, or even the chance to rest and enjoy the peaceful mountain scenery. The poet criticizes the rich travelers for having money but being unkind. Travelers have money but they are unkind, they are unsympathetic. If they do not wish to help the villagers, they might as well keep their money and move on. This shows the selfishness and lack of sympathy of the wealthy people. Okay, I hope you have understood. And the hurt to the scenery wouldn't be my compliment. I'm extremely sorry. The heart to the scenery wouldn't be my complaint, so much as the trusting sorrow of what is unsaid. Here, far from the city, we make our roadside stand and ask for some city money to feed in hand, to try if it will not make our being expand and give us the life of the moving pictures promise that the party in power is said to be keeping from us. It's a complicated poem. I would say it's a very complicated poem. Right? So let's analyze the glossary. Trusting sorrow. What does trusting sorrow mean? Sadness that comes from hope of faith, unspoken or silent. And city money. City money means money belonging to the rich people or urban population. Feel in hand means to actually have and touch the money, not just dream of it. You experience the money in your hand. Being expand means to improve or enlarge one's life experience or happiness. And moving pictures promise, moving pictures, movies, cinema, the happiness, comfort and lifestyle shown in films. Party in power, the government or rules who are said to keep wealth and benefits for the rich. Explanation, here we go. The poet says that it is not the spoiled view of the countryside that bothers him the most. It is not the spoiled view that bothers the poet the most. It is bothering the rich people, it is bothering the wealthy people, but it is not bothering, or that is not the thing bothering the poet, but something else. What is that? What hurts more is the silent sadness of the villagers. It hurts the most. The silent sadness, the silent grief of the villagers. Their unspoken struggles. Okay, they are struggling day to day. They are struggling on a daily basis, but it is not recognized. It is not addressed by the authority. Far away from the city, the poor people set up their roadside stand and hope to earn some money from the passing rich. And they're not setting up, the roadside stand in the city, in the place. They're setting up their, roadside stand far away from the city, and they're trying to collect some money from the passing rich people, the urban population. They are not begging. They're not asking money for charity. They're selling things. Okay, but they want to see if this money can improve their lives, giving them a taste of the comfort and happiness promised in films and stories. They also, wanted to taste the, I would not say luxury, but a standard life. They long for, means they desire for, they wish for the prosperity that those in power are said to be keeping for the rich while they are left poor. Okay, and it is in the news that all these pitiful kin are to be bought out and mercifully gathered in to live in villages next to the theatre and the store, where they won't have to think for themselves anymore. While greedy good doers, beneficent beasts of prey, swam over their lives, enforcing benefits that are calculated, soothe them out of their wits. And by teaching them how to sleep, they sleep all day, destroy their sleeping at night night the ancient way. What does that mean? Let's analyze the glossary. Pitiful kin means poor villagers. Pitiful kin of the relative of the poet. Pitiful kin means the villagers. Bought out means forced to sell their land or homes. Mercifully gathered in, taken together in the name of help. Mercifully gathered, taken together in the name of help. Greedy good doers. What does that mean? Greedy good doers means people who pretend to help but are actually selfish. And beneficent beast of prey. People who appear kind but take advantage of others. Swam over, crowd around or control. And enforcing benefits, forcing welfare scheme on people. Soothe them out of the wits, confuse them completely. Ancient way, traditional way of life. I'll explain. Listen to me very carefully. Okay, so this I have already mentioned, this is a very long poem, detailed poem, descriptive poem, complicated poem, but we'll understand this poem. Listen to me. The poet says that it is reported in the news that these poor villages will be moved from their homes and settled in planned villages, constructed, ready-made villages. These new villages will be near cinemas and shops. So everything will be provided for them. Because of this, they will no longer need to think or decide things for themselves. The poet criticizes these so-called helpers, rich people and authorities who pretend to help but are actually selfish. Why? He calls them greedy good doers because their help benefits themselves more than the poor. These people force rules and schemes on the villagers in the name of welfare. Such forced help confuses the villagers and takes away their natural way of life, their ethnic way of life. Even their simple habits like sleeping peacefully at night after hard work are destroyed. Through this, Frost shows how false charity harms poor people instead of truly helping them. And sometimes I feel myself I can hardly bear the thought of so much childish longing in vain. The sadness that lurks near the open window there, that waits all day in almost open prayer. For the squeal of brakes, the sound of a stopping car, of all the thousand selfish cars that pass, just one to inquire what a farmer's prices are. And one did stop but only to plow up grass in using the yard to back and turn around, and another to ask the way to where it was bound. It's a complicated poem. Okay, I'll explain. Heartily bear. What do you mean by heartily bear? Find it very difficult to tolerate. Find it very difficult to put up with. Childish longing mean innocent and simple hopes. Childish longing means innocent and yeah. mm, yes, innocent and simple hope. In vain means without success. Lurks means stays hidden quietly. Lurking, a danger is lurking around. Almost open prayer means silent hope, like praying. Squeal of brakes means sharp sound when a car stops suddenly. Selfish cars driven by people who do not care about the poor people. Selfish cars means selfish people. Farmers' prices, cost of the goods sold by farmers. And plow up grass, damage the grass. Back and turn around, reverse and change direction. Bound means going towards a place. Bound towards a place. Okay, I'll explain. The poet says that sometimes he feels very sad and helpless when he thinks about the village's innocent hopes that are never fulfilled. The poor people wait near the open window of the roadside stand all day, almost like they are praying. They hope to hear the sound of brakes, people stopping to buy things, which would mean a car is stopping. Out of the many selfish cars that pass by, they wish that at least one would stop and ask about the price of the farm products. However, when a car finally stops, it does not stop to buy anything. One car only stops to turn around, damaging the grass. Another car stops just to ask for directions. This shows how the villagers' hopes are repeatedly disappointed and how indifferent the city people are to their needs. Okay, it's a thought provoking poem. And we have the next two lines as a group, as I said. And another to ask, could they sell it a gallon of gas? They couldn't, this crossly, they had none, didn't it see? So here, gallon means a large measure of liquid, and closely means, we have already mentioned that earlier, angrily or in an irritated manner. What does that mean? This is very important. The poet says that sometimes a traveler stops at the roadside stand not to buy the villager's products but to ask for a gallon of petrol. The villagers reply angrily that they do not have petrol to sell. This makes the villagers feels irritated because people do not understand the purpose of the stand. Instead of helping by buying the goods, travelers make useless demands. This shows how the poor villagers and are misunderstood and ignored by the rich city people. So it is an expansion of ideas. And that brings us to the last part of the poem. No. In country money, the country scale of gain, the requisite lift of spirit has never been found. Or so the voice of the country seems to complain. I can't help owning the great relief it would be to put these people at one stroke out of the pain. And then next day, as I come back into the same, I wonder how I should like you to come to me and offer to put me gently out of my pain. Let's see the glossary. So here, country money means money earned in villages, very little income. And country scale of gain, the small level of earnings in rural areas. Requisite means necessary. Lift of spirit means feeling of happiness or feeling of hope. Owning means admitting honestly. At one stroke, all at once. Sane means calm, a reasonable state of mind. Sane. The opposite is insane. And explanation. The poet says that in the villages, people have never earned enough money to feel happy or hopeful. Their income is very small and cannot improve their lives. The voice of the countryside seems to complain about this continuous poverty. The poet honestly admits that for a moment he feels it would be a great relief if all these poor people could be freed from their suffering at once. But it is not possible. However, the next day, when he starts thinking calmly, he realizes that such a thought is cruel. He then asks the reader how they would feel if someone came to them and offered to end their pain in the same way. Through this, the poet shows that escaping poverty by such extreme means is wrong and that real solution must respect human life and dignity. I understood that this is not an easy poem to comprehend, and that is why I have explained the poem in this manner. Because if I'm explaining the poem like this, explaining the lines without giving you a proper glossary or a proper explanation, it will not be easy for you to comprehend, or it will not be easy for you to understand for your examination. Okay, so I hope and believe you have understood everything we have discussed it so far, and I have also prepared a chapter test based on this particular poem. It is very important, so do check the description box and attempt the exam. It is actually an MCQ question, consists of 10 questions, so do attempt. And you can scan this QR code to avail free handwritten notes. It is absolutely free, and all the notes which is required for your examination will be provided through this WhatsApp group. So do check the WhatsApp group, and thank you everybody for watching. I'll see you in the next class. Until we see next time, this is Nasir Faruddin signing off. Tata, bye bye.